What's good, y'all? SpazzoReactz back with another vid. Today, reacting to the Untold influence of WhiteArmor Drain Gang. With that being said, let's get to the vid.
Not just another ordinary producer, he's responsible for pioneering the sound of one of the most influential artists within modern hip-hop, and he himself has inspired the majority of artists at the heights of the Billboard charts today. So here is how this teenager from Sweden with a couple of friends managed to leave such a big impact on the modern wave of rappers. Ludwig Thomas Walther Rosenberg, aka WhiteArmor, will be born on the 17th of May in 1993 in the capital of Sweden, Stockholm. WhiteArmor grew up at the height of the early internet, with many of his first formative music experiences being from MTV and the audiophile distribution program Napster, where he would spend hours downloading music with his computer enthusiast dad, with two notable artists he would listen to being Bob Marley and Slipknot. During his
Factual. Marley hitting.
teenage years, he would start playing the drums in an indie rock band and would also start listening to Atlanta rap. The earliest official WhiteArmor work that is on the internet is from 2010, which would be under the name DJ Creep. He would post EDM style remixes and also a single video on CSGO movement on his YouTube channel. Now fast forward to 2011 and WhiteArmor would start going under the name DJ Cannabis. He would release tracks on a now deleted SoundCloud account where he posted over 20 songs under this name, with all of them being deleted and the majority gone forever. However, some have been recovered. But first, I'm going to go into the Ripping Private Bowls tape, which has an insane backstory. Being one of his oldest tapes, it features very unique sampling and ethereal sounding synths. The project also sampled a lot of Enya, who is a female Irish singer, with the project in general taking a lot of inspiration from her music. Now into the lore behind this tape, this being a limited cassette release back in 2011, only a couple people would know of its existence and even lesser people held a physical copy. It was thought that it would be lost forever. However, one day a user would tease the Sad Boys Reddit with him playing a video of the cassette, where commenters would beg him to upload it to the internet. Eventually, a user named Alex_23 bought the cassette from someone, ripped it, and uploaded it to the internet. And now we're left with this legendary OG WhiteArmor tape. WhiteArmor would also have songs uploaded to his YouTube channel, DJ Cannabis, and also to the Hash Boys SoundCloud page. Hash Boys being the group WhiteArmor was in at the time, which was also called Smog Boys, with around 10 members, with many of them being the current members of the group you may know today as Drain Gang. But back in 2011, they were under different names, with Blade going under the name Ken Burns, Echo 2K as Malcolm Sex, WhiteArmor as DJ Cannabis, and Tyboy keeping the same name. Now we'll get back into this group in a second, because first we're going to delve further into WhiteArmor's early work. The first ever single we can find from WhiteArmor would be Downer, uploaded on the 21st of March in 2011, with this track taking heavy influence from Clams Casino, with it predominantly consisting of an ambient melody with a glitchy reverb sample of a female singer. It creates a super relaxed feeling, with some people even stating that they are levitating when listening to it.
There's nothing more powerful than you making your thing happen. Doing business on your
But what is super impressive is that this is some of his first work yet, which is incredible. He will drop many more songs on his SoundCloud and his YouTube, and as I mentioned before, all the SoundCloud songs are deleted. However, there are still 2 songs up on his YouTube, with the visuals to the track Bodolin being a concert of the 80s Japanese noise band Hanatarash. And if you enjoy your ears and hearing, I would recommend staying far away from any of their music. Don't make the mistake of deep diving into this rabbit hole of noise music. Now back to his group, he would meet Tyboy, who asked WhiteArmor for a pack of cigarettes at school, which WhiteArmor replied to, "Fuck off, buy your own." WhiteArmor would also meet Blade around 2011 through mutual friends, where at first they'll be messing around and just freestyling over his beats, until Tyboy and WhiteArmor suggested that they became a group and started taking music more seriously. Blade and Echo 2K would start making music over WhiteArmor beats under the names Ken Burns and Malcolm Sex. But honestly, this wasn't real music, it was really just a group messing about on a beat.
Wait, dude.
But even all the way back in 2011, WhiteArmor was producing crazy beats for the group, and even the instrumental for the song Tony Hawk Slaps.
Smoking slime swishes like it's time to do the dishes. Look like taking picture grills fresh out the kitchen.
Jack 26 whips just to pay for my rent.
Now in 2012, they would continue putting out music, where Blade would release the song Oxygen, with the song bringing a very cold, suffering kind of vibe, with WhiteArmor's heavy synths playing a big part in this sound. However, the important thing to take from this track is pretty much how far ahead of its time it really was, because the synths, drum patterns, and bass hits will still be used in more recent Blade songs. During this year, WhiteArmor would also produce Boy's Birthday Freestyle and Cup and Dice by Young Dialysis, a member of the Smog Boys. And I'm saying this stuff as if it actually meant anything, because it really didn't. These guys weren't releasing music as proper artists yet, it was more of a group of teenagers from Sweden having fun. A year later in 2013, the group Smog Boys would disband and the collective Gravity Boys would form, consisting of Blade, WhiteArmor, Young Sherman, Echo 2K, and Thighboy Digital. The group would continue making music over WhiteArmor beats, with the standout songs during the beginning of that year being Car Wash, Bleach, and My Magic is Strong. And what stands out about these three instrumentals is how diverse WhiteArmor's production is, with Car Wash being a calm, laid-back vibe, My Magic is Strong being a super heavy, literally from the future style beat, and then Bleach. I have no idea how Echo and Blade made this, but this song is so far ahead of its time, even though it was just a couple of teenagers from Europe with incredible production skills. Now earlier in this year, fellow Swede artist Young Lean would release his genre-defying track, Ginseng Strip 2002. Now Young Lean would also have his own group like Drain Gang. They would be known as the Sad Boys, and it would feature Young Lean, Young Good, and Young Sherman, his two producers. Lean and WhiteArmor would meet each other in the summer of 2013, with Young Lean already being a fan of WhiteArmor's work even when he was known as DJ Cannabis. They would be joined alongside Blade and Echo 2K, where they would sit and record songs such as Email, Racks on Racks, and Blade City. And just a couple weeks later, Young Lean would release his debut mixtape, Unknown Death 2002. WhiteArmor would produce 3 songs, Emails, Death Star, and Heal You, which featured Blade.
Empire of emotions, smoking lotion, 600 emails, I ain't even open.
WhiteArmor's production would get heavy praise on this project, with critics stating that he produced timeless beats that basically carried Young Lean's rapping, which on a rapping basis I guess could be true. However, musically, the whole kind of idea behind the Sad Boys and Drain Gang is that a lot of them use their voices as instruments, with them basically adding another layer to the beat. But overall, the project from Lean and also production from WhiteArmor showed how ahead of their time they really was, with it representing what's to come for the SoundCloud scene in the future. Yo, and sorry to interrupt the video, but we're very close to 10k subs, so if you guys could subscribe, I'll also comment and like, highly appreciated. Now let's get back to the video. Then for the rest of 2013, there would be no official projects from Drain Gang or the Sad Boys that WhiteArmor would produce on. Blade was supposed to release Rain World, but never ended up releasing, and Echo TK was supposed to release Zach Goutward's album, which again never ended up releasing. But what was notable for the rest of this year is that WhiteArmor would start collaborating on beats with Young Sherman, with my favourite from this period being Young Lean's Marble Phone featuring Krayshawn. It's not the usual cloud rap style beats they make, it's more of an upbeat EDM style instrumental. So not only can WhiteArmor create some crazy ambient cloud rap beats, but also some fire EDM style beats. The duo would also produce more tracks for the second part of 2013, such as Echo 2K's Hold Me Down Like Gravity, which was pretty cool. WhiteArmor and Young Sherman would also produce a track for Xavier Wolf with Blade, which was pretty huge at the time. WhiteArmor did the usual, create a timeless classic. Xavier Wolf and WhiteArmor were actually supposed to create a tape together during late 2014, but Xavier supposedly said he wasn't feeling the beats and they didn't match his vibes. And then Drain Gang and Xavier Wolf's group Sesh started beefing, so nothing actually happened. And speaking of Team Sesh, WhiteArmor would also produce a song for Blade featuring Bones towards the end of 2014, which was pretty cool within the cloud rap scene at the time. But even within the cloud rap scene, Drain Gang was seen as outsiders because this was such a niche and unique sound at the time. Barely anyone knew who these dudes from Sweden were, and that's why I haven't really touched on any streaming numbers or views on their music, because in the current day most of the stuff has streams and views in the millions, whereas back in the day it was in the thousands. Now just a couple months later, in the January of 2014, Blade will drop his debut mixtape Glue, with WhiteArmor getting 4 production credits on this project. Unreal, which has this unique but super catchy 8-bit style lead, and Blade's vocals over the top, heavy auto-tune with a soft delivery where I basically can't hear what he's saying, but it complements the beat very well. Overall, making for one of the best tracks on the album. Another WhiteArmor produced track on this album that stood out for me would be Spellbound, with it being a way more obnoxious sound than before. After the 1-minute intro to the song where Blade just harmonizes with the beat, the super heavy bass kicks in and Blade starts rapping about how his music is going to sell out and how he's going to make it big. The song kind of felt motivating and honestly would have been the perfect closing track to the album. And personally for me, what I can take from Drain Gang's music so far is the importance of WhiteArmor's production. Without WhiteArmor, there is no Drain Gang, because the truth is, the majority of the vocals are a good sounding auto-tune mess, which can be seen as an art form in itself, and as I stated before, where the artists use their voice as an instrument. But for me, it is really obvious that WhiteArmor led the rise of Drain Gang in the early 2010s and influenced their sound heavily. After this project, Xavier Wolf would hop on a WhiteArmor beat and release the song Dear Haters, and honestly, beautiful beat from WhiteArmor, but Xavier Wolf was right. They simply don't mix well. His aggressive shouting like delivery does not complement WhiteArmor's production at all. Throughout 2014, WhiteArmor would also produce tracks for Drain Gang and Sad Boys such as Blood Rain, Motorola, and Into the Dust, with Into the Dust being a masterpiece. It was one of Blade's most popular songs for almost half a decade, with the main factor behind this being, it was one of his first songs.
So he really did commit a murder. Look at his hands. That was Evil Blade.
Songs for almost.
He really did commit a murder. It was Evil Blade, bro.
Half a decade, with the main factor behind this being, it was one of his first songs where he had a more polished sound. I guess you could say the music was easier to digest. There's not as much random unclear lyrics, it's a lot more structured and easier for an outsider to listen. A couple months later, Young Lean would release Unknown Memory, with it following the same themes as his debut album. However, it would be a huge improvement compared to the previous project as Lean took it more seriously. One of the more interesting WhiteArmor produced tracks on this album would be Lean World, where it was a really relaxing ambient beat where Lean would just basically sing and let everything out. Then at the end of 2014, Tyboy Digital would release his first official project.
Man, why did I turn off my Yoshi City? I love that beat, bruh.
Tiger. What stood out from WhiteArmor on this project is that it was less cloud rap ambient beats and it was more of cloud rap beats mixed with EDM. At this point in time, Young Lean Sad Boys and his friends Drain Gang were seen as one of the most interesting groups within the underground, with Lean of course having the worldwide success from Jinxing Strip 2002 and then followed up by his 2 projects. He was seen as the newest sensation in the SoundCloud scene, and in the current day, he's recognized as being seriously far ahead of his time. He would be one of the first rappers to hop onto the cloud rap emo genre SoundCloud era, which was a very important time as it helped us shape rappers such as Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Peep, and Travis Scott, with Travis Scott even stating that he was a fan of Young Lean, which is one of the reasons he was featured on Lean's Unknown Memory tape. And what I'm getting at here is so many of these big rappers were a fan of Lean, but this wouldn't be possible without his producers. Because musically wise, a lot of the time, the majestic production from WhiteArmor, Good, and Sherman outshone his rapping, with back in the day, his rapping being called lazy. But even with that, I still cannot take away the influence Young Lean himself had, as his personality, image, and uniqueness still played a huge part in his success. However, I still think his producers had a huge impact on the wave of emo rappers that would come after him. However, that is not until a couple years from 2014, so I'm going to explain this segment later in the video. Now moving into 2015, which in terms of releasing music was a poor year for Drain Gang and the Sad Boys. Now this could have been potentially due to them doing a worldwide tour, then the situation with Lean in Miami and his mental health issues. It was probably a year to forget musically wise for the group. After Lean recovered and got back to a stable state, he would release Warlord at the start of 2016. Warlord was a step in the right direction, cleaner production and easier to listen to with a more structured feel. WhiteArmor would produce 4 tracks and as usual got heavy praise, but it wasn't anything significant.
He did eye contact. Oh my god, I listened to that today. Shout out to my enemies, I wish you well. Shout out to my enemies, I wish you well. Sword. I love that song, bruh.
Different to what he's done before. It will be predominantly Young Good and Young Sherman that did the majority of the songs for this project. Just a couple weeks later, Blade will release Ever Since, his debut studio album, which was a huge step in the right direction for his music and also the development of the unique Drain Gang sound.
Join Planet Fitness during the Big Fitness Energy Sale and save big. Deal ends Friday, February 16th.
She was kind of fun.
Get a Dunkin'. One time, can I get a Dunkin'? Feel me? Feel me? Can I get a Dunkin'?
Bro, Dunkin' Donuts are so dry. Disgusting.
The project would be entirely produced by WhiteArmor, on which he combined cloud rap, drill beats, EDM with Blade's emo vocals. This album would build a great foundation for Drain Gang and their sound, especially with Blade and WhiteArmor becoming such a renowned duo for never missing on a song together. WhiteArmor would actually co-produce Sugar with Rip, who was a producer from Australia, with Sugar being one of his first placements and would actually play a big part in their future blow-up. Sugar was of course Blade's normal emo style with high auto-tune vocals, but with it being a heavy trap beat with segments of ambient cloud rap, which was of course the work of the producers who are just taking things to the next level. It was seriously impressive at this point in time. We would get 2 more projects from the Swedes towards the end of 2016. AVP, which was a collaborative project between Blade and Tyboy Digital, entirely produced by WhiteArmor, a short 7 EP project, a nice mix of very different songs, but it wasn't anything significantly different, and we still have loads of projects to go over, so I'm just going to skip over this one. Lean will also drop an EP in December, 4 out of 8 songs produced by WhiteArmor. Again, similar to AVP, it's just a nice short EP with a mix of different sounds. As we move into the May of 2017, WhiteArmor would start working with people outside of Drain Gang and Sad Boys. He would work with the Swedish producer Varg on his Gore-Tex City project. He would have produced 2 songs, with one of them featuring Lean, but this stuff is seriously different. Nothing like he's anything done with Drain Gang. It's an 8-minute instrumental, which is a mix of techno and ambient sounds, with Lean rapping about suicide and self-harm on the first part of the instrumental, then with the second half just leaving us with the sounds of the producer's dark synths and forceful drums. 2017 wouldn't be anything crazy for Drain Gang and Sad Boys. Drain Gang released their first collaborative project, DNG, which didn't really showcase any development in their sound. It sounded relatively similar to their previous work, but was still an okay listen. WhiteArmor would produce the entirety of this album, with Rip, Good, Sherman, and Wosum co-producing some of the tracks. At the end of 2017, Young Lean released his 3rd studio album, Stranger, with WhiteArmor producing a couple songs on this album, but production-wise, it was Good that stole the show by producing the 2 biggest hits on the album, Red Bottom Sky and Agony.
The dragon recipe.
He did Agony. Oh my god. He did Agony. Bro, I was listening to that last night. I haven't been the same since. I haven't been the same since I experienced Drain Gang. I've been fully drained. Man.
Agony. When I'm afraid I lose my mind.
Blade would then completely switch things up with his 2017 project, Working on Dying. Obviously entirely produced by
Classic.
the producer collective Working on Dying, who at the time were a rising group out of Philadelphia in the US, known for creating the tread sound and working closely with the likes of Black Cray and Matt Ox. WhiteArmor still produced 1 song alongside Filthy, Gatekeeper, which was actually really cool to see at the time, as of course we know Filthy went on to do huge things, such as produce for the likes of Drake and Carti. Now as we know, the Sad Boys and Drain Gang have been making a lot of sound with their recent projects, and it would be around this time a lot of new artists and producers would start taking inspiration from their work. The producer Big Head, who has produced the likes of Lil Peep and Lil Tracy, tweeted that WhiteArmor is a direct inspiration for his beats, which is honestly not surprising. A lot of the Goth Boy Click guys are heavily inspired by Drain Gang and the Sad Boys.
Young Lean, shout out Sad Boys, Sweden.
So to see a producer who works with them closely being inspired by WhiteArmor doesn't come across as a surprise. I think the beat from the song Bleach sounds similar to a lot of the beats that emo rappers use in the mid 2010s, which of course is all down to WhiteArmor. But Drain Gang and the Sad Boys inspired more than just one producer. The Swedish artists and producers were some of the first people to hop out on the ambient cloud rap style wave. Of course they started out taking inspiration from the pioneers of the cloud rap era, such as Clamps Casino and Lil B, but then they took pieces of that sound, did their own thing, and inspired the next wave of SoundCloud artists. And I mean like seriously, the likes of Travis Scott, Lil Peep, Juice WRLD, Uzi, and Carti have all credited the Lean and Drain Gang as their inspirations. Even the Playboi Carti single You're the Moon that released a couple of weeks ago had fans questioning if the beat and even the visuals were heavily Drain Gang inspired, which shouldn't come as a surprise, as Carti was seen liking Blade's post, Blade fan pages posts, and even invited Blade and Young Lean for a photo shoot for his Opium clothing line. And Carter even worked with Lean in 2019, recording a feature for his future album, with then Travis Scott featuring Young Lean on his Utopia album, giving Lean his first Billboard Hot 100 entry. And yet, it's not only the fact that the modern producers and artists are taking direct inspiration from Drain Gang and Sad Boy's music, it's the fact that without the producers that carried Drain Gang's and Sad Boy's early sound, such as WhiteArmor, Good, and Sherman, the Swedish artists would have never been able to reach the level that they are at today, so people can take inspiration from their music and aesthetic. Now, in the start of 2018, Blade would release Red Light, entirely produced by WhiteArmor, where Blade delivered a completely new sound. This album has a well-structured and unique feel, which WhiteArmor is responsible for, especially with the fact that they stirred away from the heavy trap beats that they commonly use. With what I read from a lot of fans, being that they loved the direction WhiteArmor took this project in, however, disliked the change in Blade's vocals, with the vocals being more singing-like, stirring away from the sound of his previous projects.
Blade himself on this record is absolutely intolerable. He sounds almost as lifeless, tuneless, flavorless, and one-dimensional as Nav. The singing on this album, if you could call it that, sounds near tone-deaf.
And this project will actually get a lot of attention because Anthony Fanato gave it a decent 1 rating, which WhiteArmor tweeted, sarcastically shouting him out, but no one should actually take Anthony Fanato's opinion seriously. However, a lot of fans were saying that they were starting to dislike WhiteArmor's production. Not that it was bad or dropping in quality, it still obviously maintained a very high standard. However, it was nothing innovative like Blade's previous work, such as his first mixtape Glue, and it can be also thought that WhiteArmor's production is of course great, however not as effective when it is an entire album exclusively produced by him, as it can get very repetitive. Now this is something we'd see Blade act on in his next project. And just a couple weeks later, WhiteArmor would also produce the entirety of Young Lean's Poison Ivy EP, with the production as usual being exceptional and matching Lean's vocals very well. Then on the 29th of December in 2018, Blade would drop his breakthrough project Ice Dancer, executively produced by Rip and Lucy, with WhiteArmor only co-producing on 1 track. The project will do super well, especially with Be Nice to Me blowing up on TikTok.
Dang.
Little Caesar slices and sticks.
Bro, I was about to get lit.
Greatest combination.
Then I got the nerve showing me Little Caesars.
Carl?
Enough.
And people were loving the new production from Rip Squad, as it was something different, and with people even saying that it suited Blade's vocals better, which is disappointing to see, as WhiteArmor has been producing for Blade since his first song. However, even with all the success that this album brought to Blade, he would continue making music with WhiteArmor, with him releasing 2 singles in 2019, Trash Star and Apple, with Trash Star being something completely different we haven't heard before from Blade, where he just raps really aggressively for the entire song. Then Apple, with it being a more laid back vibe with a hypnotic beat. And now if you're a Drain Gang fan, 2019 will be a great year for you, as they dropped loads of music this year. Drain Gang would first surprise drop a collaborative project, Trash Island, with the majority of the production coming from WhiteArmor, with Lucy and Megatok co-producing some of the tracks. Drain Gang would come with a more so pop approach to this project, with all the WhiteArmor beats having catchy, unique sounds and a little more depth and structure than his previous Drain Gang projects.
One shot, quick, reload.
Echo and Tyboy would be in the spotlight from this project, as he completely switched up their sounds and delivered some really unique vocals. Just a couple days later, WhiteArmor would produce multiple songs on Tyboy Digital's Legendary Member alongside Good and Wosa. Then the final project of 2019, Echo 2K's debut album, where he brought a completely new futuristic style to the table, which was absolutely phenomenal. It really stirred away from the traditional cloud rap style of a Drain Gang and delivered something fresh. Even though it was still the same producers, Good and WhiteArmor, they managed to create something innovative and something we haven't heard before, which gave hope for the future of Drain Gang's music. Now we're going to move on to 2020, which was another great year for Drain Gang and the Sad Boys, especially with them having way more attention on them than they've ever had before, as the streak of successful projects they dropped in 2019 gave them huge attention, and you could say they're at the top of the underground scene or at the SoundCloud scene. They were getting bigger. Blade would first drop Extra in April, however there was zero WhiteArmor production, which was probably due to Blade and Good recording the album on a remote island in Sweden, and I don't think WhiteArmor could produce on this album as he couldn't physically get there. And just a couple months later, we would get Young Lean Stars, executively produced by WhiteArmor with additional credits from Sherman. This was a real statement release from Lean, as he came across a lot mature and complete on the project, almost like he had a new identity. Then this new version of Lean, mixed with the stellar production from WhiteArmor and Sherman, this project was simply levels above anything we have ever received from Drain Gang or the Sad Boys. This project was actually supposed to have a Playboi Carti feature on the song Yayo, which did actually release on the vinyl version, meaning we got to hear Carti on the WhiteArmor beat.
I've been winning inside the club. I've been fucking inside that hole. I've been fucking inside that hole.
Which in general, seeing people outside of Drain Gang and Lean doesn't happen. So seeing someone so big in the industry on the WhiteArmor beat was incredible. And we definitely need to see it. So many of these big mainstream guys are inspired by Drain Gang and Sad Boys. It needs to happen. Now in the summer of 2020, WhiteArmor and Good would drop a 2-song instrumental EP, with both songs being absolutely outstanding. I don't even know how to really describe the instrumentals. It's these cloudy ambient beats with heavenly soft vocals over the top. Just take a listen for yourself. And 2 days later after this released, Blade would drop his 4th studio album, which was nothing like we've heard before. This album was seriously a huge improvement for Blade. The sound is so much nicer, fresher, in general more pleasing to listen to, and it was consistent. On a lot of Blade projects and any other Drain Gang members' projects, there is real lows on some of their sounds, but this one retained the quality all the way through. WhiteArmor would deliver otherworldly production on every single song on 333, with additional help from Lucy, Mekatok, Joachim Benon, and Good. As we move into the later parts of 2020, in October, WhiteArmor would release more solo work with his EP Karma, which again, I don't think you can describe in words. The first track Karma starts off with a slow and soft piano, then transcends into some synth-heavy futuristic sounded instrumental, and then at the end, it transitions back into that soft piano. Then the second track, 13, has a similar style to the first track, but this time has some of Blade's vocals integrated into the background. So now we've had 2 successful years with WhiteArmor's production. However, 2021 would be quite disappointing for WhiteArmor. Blade would release his The Fool project. However, the production predominantly came from the producer collective Rip Squad, and Echo 2K would release an EP as well. However, he produced the entire thing himself. So yeah, we're going to move past this year quickly and move into 2022. Drain Gang and the Sad Boys would be entering this year bigger than ever before. Pause. They would be riding the popularity wave from the viral TikTok hits, with 2022 being the year they would cement themselves within the femboy music status. I don't know, that was just a funny joke that I saw people call them online, because they went from like emo rappers to making like weird pop music. We would get 2 projects from Blade: Crest, which was a collaborative project with Echo 2K, and also Spider, Blade's 8th studio album. The Crest, again, being a really different sound, and I just need to mention that post 2018 Blade and in general Drain Gang have really gone to great efforts to evolutionize their sound. If you listen to something like Bleach from 2013, then a song in their most recent work, it's so different. I wouldn't even say it's the same artist. Anyways, the entire project was produced by just WhiteArmor, and as usual, he did his thing. Every time I go into a new project produced by him, it just gets better and better. I think he's adapted so well throughout the years. We started out with these ambient trap beats, and now I'm listening to these magical, funky pop beats. His versatility and impact on Drain Gang sound just cannot be matched. And then Blade would drop Spider. I thought I was shocked at Blade's The Crest project, but when I pressed play on this album, it was something I never expected. WhiteArmor would completely switch things up by giving us these EDM style beats, which of course made Blade switch things up vocally. And then the final project WhiteArmor would produce on being Young Lean's 4th mixtape, Stardust. WhiteArmor only had 2 placements, so I'm not going to delve into it. However, let's just say Young Lean definitely took the experimental route with this album, especially with 2 of the songs being made alongside Skrillex. And finally, to wrap up the video, WhiteArmor would release an entire solo tape, In the Abyss, Music for Weddings, with the title of the album being pretty self-explanatory, just 10 tracks consisting of WhiteArmor's phenomenal production. I'm not even going to sit here and try to explain what WhiteArmor did on this album, because I don't even think that's possible. It's these really ambient, almost Sims background music. Just honestly, go give it a listen. Even if you don't like Drain Gang's music in general, this project will definitely shock you. And guys, that brings it to the end.
Dang, that sound fire. Y'all hear that?
Of WhiteArmor. I did this video because I really thought he doesn't get enough credit for the amount of work he has put into the Sad
That instrumental going dumb.
Boys and Drain Gang's evolution, especially as production in general was one of the main reasons Young Lean and Drain Gang got to the position where they are at today. So without these producers, Young Lean and Drain Gang would have never got to the top and evolutionized the SoundCloud era, which means a lot of your favorite artists like Playboi Carti, Travis Scott, you know, the ones I mentioned earlier in the video, wouldn't have been able to get to the position that they are at today. If you enjoyed, I would appreciate if you could like, subscribe and comment. Comment who else should make a video on or what other ideas I should do, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
This is a good vid, bro.
There's nothing holding you back.
This is a good vid. I'll be real with you. That I feel like documentaries or like videos like these, they just inspire me to just keep going, bro. Even though I'd be tired, you know, just keep going. Keep going. Man, I love these vids. W recommendation. Anyway, y'all, that's the end of the vid. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. And with that further ado, peace, y'all.